Okay.
Hi, Olga. Thank you so
Hi.
much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Olga Bond. I'm from Houston, Texas. Work at HP. I've been an accountant. I'm a US controller at HP, and so I've been an accountant for a long, long time. I have two children, and they're about to interrupt me, and a dog that you'll probably hear in the background. But I'm originally from Chicago. We'll be heading out for Thanksgiving. But other than that, that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. I can't hear the dog at all. So
Oh
anyway, just
God.
FYI.
HyperX. The headphones work.
Exactly. They're awesome. You should make a video for it.
Right?
That's like the
Yeah.
well, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
I had heard something about it, but it's kind of one of those things. Because back in the day, we were like, running against the clock with Russia, if I recall correctly, to get people on the moon. And then all of a sudden, these projects kind of fell off. And then a few years ago, I did hear about us trying to get back to it, but that's as far as it got. I never did any more digging than that.
Well, the plan is to send the first four astronauts around the moon in 2024,
Mm.
and it includes like the first Canadian, the first woman to be out that far, um, and in 2025 they plan to have two of those astronauts land on the moon. Uh, so
Wow. So you already have the people ch picked out that are going to head, they already have chosen the people that are going to head out to the moon next, well, I'm assuming next year, so I guess they're in training.
yes, the ones that are going to go around the moon have been selected and are in training. The ones that make the trip after that, which will have half of them going down to the moon, those haven't been selected yet. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Um, so what do you think about it now that you know?
Well, I mean, I think it's great. I think there's a group of people who really are fascinated with space and wanna walk on the moon, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, from hell, we've come so far from technology and just, as everything. But personally, me, I don't want to go to the moon. I kind of like living on Earth, feet on the ground. Um, but I think it's amazing. It's amazing to me how far we've come as a society that we can actually make something like this happen, and the fact that we can actually get people out there and go like around the moon and actually land on it and actually I was prior military, so I know then Space Force came along, and so I really am clueless as to what Space Force really does, but I, I I think it's the next big thing. I think that's where we're headed is the moon or living someplace out in space. And there's going to be a group of people who are going to want to do this. I don't though.
Well, whenever you think about the future of humanity, let's say 200 years out in the future, do you see us as being multi-planetary at that point, or do you think we're still only on one planet,
Just on one planet.
just on one planet?
I don't think we're gonna quite make it. I think we are our own worst enemy. And so in some way, shape, or form, we're going to be our own demise. So I mean, think about it up until this point. If you think back to like Back to the Future, the movies, by this point we should have at least, hovering cars and even, the hoverboard. We can't even get that right just yet. So I think we'll be close and we'll continue to do the work, but I don't think we'll be there. Plus, you're talking about living out there. Yeah, that's kind of nerve-wracking. So I don't think we'll be there yet. I think people will be visiting, but I don't think we'll be living there, in my own
Of course,
personal opinion.
I think about what motivated people from Europe to go to North America. And in some respects, it wasn't necessarily that North America was all this great place. It was because it was much better than what, like the wars and the issues they were having in Europe. So,
Well, and the
um,
taxes. It's always
and
about
the taxes.
taxes.
But the
Always fun.
serfdom back then,
Yes, yes,
know.
yes. But let's the difference piece between North America and going across the ocean and going up into space is that the atmosphere really doesn't change. I mean, the area changes, but the elements are the same pretty much. When you're talking about going up in space, you're talking about, I mean, breathing, I mean, just breathing is going to be a challenge, you know? I'm assuming the elements are going to be very different. And so just give me one more minute, please. And so I think that's the biggest difference. And I mean, you have people like me that are transplants into Houston that kind of sort of as you get older, you kind of miss your family. And so I can't even imagine having my family up in another planet somewhere and just wonder, oh, like we're living in the Jetsons, you know?
Now, you mentioned you wouldn't take a like live on the moon or anything like that, but would you take a trip to space just for fun, like a 15-minute trip of no, you're like the Earth
I
is good
am
enough
not
for
that
me.
person. I'm not that person. No, remember I was around and you probably were too. Remember the Space Shuttle Challenger? Was it Challenger that blew up? And we watched
It
this on
was
live TV
1986.
and we watched
Well,
this.
they didn't have it in my school, but
We
I
had
had
it at our
saw
school.
Challenger on the launch pad that December before. That was like the
Oh,
first time
okay.
I got to go to Kennedy Space Center, and
Uh-huh.
but yeah, no, that
No,
that was
we
really
had it
difficult.
on. Our teacher brought the TV into the classroom. We were watching it, and I was like, I'm like, I don't know about this. And then there was the one movie with Matt Damon
Oh,
where
The
he was,
Martian.
yeah. I don't, I don't like being alone. I don't think I could handle being alone up in space. That's just me though. And like my son is 10, and so that's, a new generation and he is fascinated with space. Like every time we go back to Chicago, like we make it a point to go to the planetarium. And so he loves that kind of stuff. And even him at a very young age, 'cause I was like, oh my God, he's going to want to be an astronaut. And I'm like, how am I going to handle this? Right. And he's like, no, he's like, I have no desire to fly up to the moon. He's like, I'll help people get to the moon, but he's like, I don't want to go to the moon. And that's kind of my thing. I would love for people to go to the moon. I will do whatever I can to help them, but I don't want to go to the moon.
Well, tomorrow morning at
Mhm,
about 6:30, uh, SpaceX is going to start the live stream for their SpaceX Starship
mhm,
launch. It's like
mhm.
this is going to be a 100% reusable spacecraft that's going to be completely change the economics of space flight. So if he's interested in space and you're up at 6:30 in the
Yeah,
morning,
we are. Uh-huh.
then that might be good. You can just go to spacex.com and they have a link there to watch the live
Oh,
stream.
nice. SpaceX is that Elon Musk's company?
It is.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have to put him on that because he loves that.
And they only have a 20-minute launch window. So if it doesn't launch between 7 and 7:20, it's not going to launch at all tomorrow. So you don't,
7 and
it's not like
7:20
it,
Eastern?
I,
They're in
Central,
Tennessee? Oh, it's Central.
uh,
Okay, so
Central. Yeah,
okay.
no, they're actually in South Texas.
So who's the one that's in Tennessee?
I don't
Is that
know.
Bezos? What's Bezos' company?
Blue Origin. I know they're like in um,
Tennessee, right?
not
My neighbor was an aeronautic some big brain. And he actually moved away from Houston and he was going to go, it was either between Bezos or Musk. And so the one near South Texas was in McAllen, somewhere near
That's right.
McAllen.
That's right. Boca Chica near Brownsville.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that was SpaceX. So then he went to the other one that's in Tennessee, and they're in Tennessee.
I honestly, there's so much happening in space. It's hard to keep
Yeah.
track of it, but I'm not familiar with the Tennessee operations.
Yeah, I don't know what because he needed to get like really the what is it, top secret security
Oh,
clearance
okay.
and all because I had to I interviewed because as his neighbor to kind of character witness type deal and I was just like okay like we can do this but yeah so that's pretty cool so it'll be here then Central Time 7:20 we'll have to get on and it's just okay I'm gonna have to show him that
Yeah, and they say excitement guaranteed. Of course, they could also scrub the launch and reschedule it from other day. That's a little less
yeah
exciting, but anyway.
but the weather should be good for it I think I mean
Oh
from a
yeah,
weather
it's wonderful
perspective
weather
yeah
today and
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so it should be good. This is kind of cool. This kind of exciting stuff.
It is. It is. I think in a decade from now, what we do in space will be unbelievable, which is kind of why I want to capture people's viewpoints now before they actually see it.
I'll be put on. This one said no. It's okay. It's okay. I am an accountant just like your wife, and sometimes we need convincing. We can be a little more reluctant.
Now, we were at the Boston airport,
Mhm.
and I had a space shirt on, and somebody said, "Hey, you like space?" Or, and I'm like, "Yeah." And he had a SpaceX shirt on. He's like, "I work at SpaceX," and he was an accountant at SpaceX. That one of the things that he does is try to figure out how much this rocket's going to cost and stuff like that. So I got to interview him for my project. So that's
Well,
kind of
that's
cool.
kind of cool. I mean, I don't even know. Ugh, I don't even know how you would. That would be forecasting to the nth degree. I mean, seriously. And then, um, how many projects actually make it to capitalization? Considering they're probably, oh no, we're done with this project
Well,
anyway.
and also depreciation. That was
Yeah.
one of the things that you were talking about. You know, with the SpaceX Falcon rocket, they're reusing the first stage, and right now they're depreciating over uses. And he
Oh,
was saying that kind of like one of their internal milestones for maturity is whenever they stop doing it by uses and start doing it by time. So I thought that's kind of
oh, that's
interesting.
kind of cool too. Yeah, man. Accounting, who would have thought that accounting? Well, I mean, nowadays, especially with the way as fast as automation is coming and artificial intelligence and things are happening, surprisingly, accounting is actually having to keep up. And even on top of that, it's, we're regulated. And so therefore regulation has to keep up with stuff like that. It's been like even moving like from hardware and just, selling computers and printers to subscription models and software. It's like, oh yeah, there you go. Like it's all
Um,
moving fast too.
I think accountants' model should be accountants keep it real.
Well, we try. We try. And, when I started in accounting, I thought, I can, doesn't matter what the economy is doing, they always gonna need accountants, right? Or like, and it should be black and white, right? There's so much gray,
There
so
is.
much gray, and it's only getting more gray. I'm like, oh well, we'll keep going, especially with us going global too. That adds another element, another challenge. So,
Yeah, you get a group of people in a room to classify a group of things, and they'll all classify them differently. You know, I mean,
mhm.
that's part of your challenge with accounting, right?
Interpretation, absolutely.
Yeah.
Interpretation, that's why you always have to go. That's why you have people like your wife that work in that group, the corporate financial reporting folks, that it's like, okay, how should we be interpreting this language? That's how it works.
Well, that's cool. Well, Olga, I really appreciate your time. It's such a pleasure to get to talk to you, and
Yes,
thank you
same
for
here.
participating in my project.
Thank you and good luck with it. I'll love to figure or know what happens at the end once you're done after 400 more. You got another more than a year to go. So good luck with it.
End of 2024. Yep.
All
Okay.
right. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.